And we should be live, ladies and gents. Hello, everybody. Welcome along to. Let me refresh that just so I can make sure that we are live. Yes, we are. We are in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah for round 3 here at FSC. And it's going to be a hell of a race. I can only apologise for last week. There was some connection issues. Hopefully they don't rear their ugly heads again tonight. Let's see who's just come out on track. There's a couple people. HBE, here we go. Championship winner last season. And I do believe he still holds the championship lead going into this race. Let me just make sure. Yes, he does. How come? Because he won the last round as well. He's won round 1. He's won round 2, with Millen taking both second places, so hot on his heels is the Lotus driver. And again, Curtis isn't very far behind long term. Is Curtis here? Yes, he is. And crucially for Apex, so is James Petty, because Lotus have got a massive advantage going into this race. In terms of the constructors, it's a 30-point advantage, and it is 30 points for a win with this amended points structure. So there is a lot there to fight for, especially for these guys. Mute Mirror also in the Porsche. I think just the one Porsche tonight. But let me just check and make sure. I believe so, yes. And a name which we saw towards the... just in last season in general. He said he wasn't going to race regularly anymore, but he's come back as a reserve for Pagani tonight. Red Panda, of course known for the Lotuses from last season, if anybody was watching back then. We are glad to have you back, but we've got a lap going from HBE. In fact, no, we don't. He's hugging down the inside, so we'll go on board with Mute Mirror on the mediums. This isn't necessarily going to be a great indicator of full one-lap pace. However, some people do like to take their first lap on mediums. Almost hits the wall there on the apex of, I think, turn 3 through the S's here. Pretty high speed this section, but again, very high risk. You've got walls left, right, and centre. Careful you don't take that too wide. That's exactly what's happened there, and that's your lap done and dusted. Easy as that, especially around here. On board with Matt Coper. Let's see if he can make a lap with the BMW. Nicely held into the S's. Goes wide, cuts back, and again goes wide, brakes a little bit, drops to 6th gear, cuts back in. Careful for that kink. Nicely held there. Mind the sausage curves as well, because they can actually damage your floor pretty badly. Fastest first sector. Well, that's partly because it's the only one that's completed a valid first sector at speed. Through these kinks here into the right-left chicane, drops down to 4th gear, back up to 5th, and then it's through this slalom section here. Some people call it a toboggan run. It's basically constant full speed, left, right, threading the eye of the needle into this difficult fast left, and then double apex right, bit of a wiggle going in, hits the wall on the second apex there, and then it is this second DRS straight up towards the final corner. I think turn 27. Yes, there's a lot of corners around here. Around the final corner he goes. Controversy, of course, on exit of this final corner. HBE 46.9, but that's nowhere near race pace. Millen 28.1. That's a bit better, but Matt Coper goes immediately faster than that. 27.975. So it's a good start for Matt Coper. Mute Mirror goes off for another one. Corky Malakis coming through 24 and 25, I think. As through this sort of slightly bent straight. Doesn't actually mean it's straight, but you know what I mean. Into the final corner, slightly wide there on entry. Here he comes up to the Red Panda 3rd. Georgiakis 4th for Athletic. As Corky Malakis cuts that slightly, goes 3rd for the time being with 13 minutes left in qualifying. Sandbox for International Paddock. Yes, we fielded a team here is on an outlap. Danny Boy is being hunted down by, I have a feeling, is that St. Place? Yes, it is. Who's going to get the better drag off the line? This is going to be great to see what we could see in a race situation. Both of them do have DRS. St. Place goes 4th. Danny Boy goes 6th. Danny Boy immediately lets off. I think St. Place might be going again here. It wouldn't be a surprise, but you do have to be careful because having enough battery around here is pretty important. Out the final corner goes Mute Mirror, first full lap that he could use for qualifying under his belt. Goes into 7th place. We're going to go on board with HB. He's coming into the pit lane. I thought he was for a sec. He's going to a 1:37, so he's constantly cutting that time down, but I think he's going to go again here into turn 1, cutting the curbs. Nicely handled there. Through turn 2, I think the slowest corner on this circuit. Believe me, there's not very many to choose from into here. Through the S's here. Careful you don't clatter the curbs. Stay on board through here. Riding the curbs very, very nicely. And then it's over to the banked hairpin at the end of this straight part. Fastest first sector. Start as you need to go on. There's still 2 more sectors to go. Up to this right-left chicane, braking ever so slightly. Yells across the whole circuit. There's one into the final corner. I have a feeling that is... that might be for... Who might that be for? Maybe not Corkin Milakis. I'm not sure who that's for, I'll be honest. But we're going to stay on board with James Petty as he comes up to the line. Goes 3rd. That second Apex car hasn't been doing too well. Missed the first round. And then also didn't do the second. Is that St. Place there? I wonder. Might be. Here comes HBE. Pole position last couple of rounds, and he's not showing signs of stopping. As he goes for a 27.474. 74.74, 74.74. Looking down to Curtis in the other Lotus. Being the bridesmaid sort of, as he goes, Sandbox goes 1:34, slowest of the lot so far. But there's still, again, plenty of time. It's 7 seconds up to pole position, so there's plenty of time even for Sam to follow. Thanks for the follow, Curtis. Much appreciated as always. Love you lots, buddy. Actually, speaking of Curtis, it's the fastest first sector, but again, he's not really set a lap, so I don't really trust that with all due respect to you, but that's just the game being the game, i.e. not working properly. Through this chicane in the middle of that second sector goes the Lotus. You can't really miss it. It's a very, very vibrant green colour. Through the branding that is for the laptops. Again, fastest middle sector, minute 3 is pretty stellar pace, just generally from what I've been seeing. So we could be seeing a fastest lap here from Curtis about halfway through this session. 9 minutes 30 to go. Just through this stretch, keeping it tight to the walls, tight as you like. Around this final corner again. Almost hitting the wall, back end sliding there. This could be a very, very good lap for Curtis. Up to the line he goes. Could we see a 26? Not quite, but it's a 27.575. Puts him in second place. Right between the Apex and the Beamer. Let's see what Luigi Sven can do. Of course, owner for Garuda. Or is at least one of the main guys. 101.2 after 2 sectors. So he's about second off Curtis's pace, but there's still plenty of time to pick up through this final section, especially if you go for like a low downforce setup. There's plenty, and I mean plenty, of time to make up. Into the final corner, left-hander, sort of open hairpin. Yells in first and third sector. That does look to be for traffic. I think that's Curtis, and that might have been one of the Paganis. Here comes Luigi Sven, goes 5th. Then Milan has started a lap as well. So he's going to be coming up to the line in about a minute and a half's time, just under that. Plumby has also started a lap, comes down towards turn 1. Plumby tonight in the Mercedes, along with Danny Boy, who's in 11th place. But let's go to Red Panda. He's also started a lap. Who is that black logo, I wonder? Malakis has started one. Is that HBE perhaps? I'm not sure, but we'll stay on board with Luigi's fan. I think, is he doing another lap at full pelt? Let's have a look. Let's go on board with the telemetry. Is he using the battery? I don't think he is. He's trying to recover. Is he possibly going to go again? He's lifting off. Yeah, so this isn't really much of a push lap there for Luigi. But we're going to go on board with Milan. Again, he's not pushing. I thought he was for a brief moment earlier on in his lap, but seems not to be the case. Curtis coming into the pit lane. We'll go back to Plumby. Down to turn 27. Deep into there. Tries to cut back. Can't make that work. Plenty of time lost there. Going to come up to the line. Not exactly the most stellar of laps. Where is he going to start at the moment? Goes 13th. So it's going to be penultimate on that 7th row. Unfortunate there for Plumby. The Mercedes are quite struggling today, 11th and 13th, not quite like the real-life Mercedes crew that we've known to, well, we've grown to know and love in some cases. Danny Boy coming through this S section, the other Mercedes. Let's see how well Danny can do as the first sector ticks through just here. What time's he got? 3/10 down, so not really enough of a pace improvement for a position, but pace improvement nonetheless. Banked hairpin negotiated, and then it's this right left tight chicane, sort of one line into here. A lot of this track, to be fair, is quite one line. You can go side by side in a few sections, especially this one, but it's much easier done with one car than two. Through this long right hand sweeper into the kink left, and then the double right apex through this DRS zone. We're going to be seeing a lot of people calling DRS chicken, which is basically who's going to lift off and try to give themselves DRS. I've seen that in a couple other leagues. We'll see if it happens here tonight. Danny Boy goes from 11th to 10th. 8.5 tenths of a second upgrade there. James Petty invalidated his lap. Corkin Malakis has done as well. St. Blaise is in 5th place at the moment. First sector ticks through, not a time. No major improvement there for Milan. So he's staying in 4th for the moment with 5 minutes of qualifying. Hello, Mike. Hope you're enjoying your trip up north, well, further up north than where you currently are living. Danny Boy again on an improved lap, just over 1/10 of a second, so again he could possibly make up another position, get himself ahead of that 5th row. Going to jump on though with Mute Mirror up to the final corner, just under half a second up in terms of pace. It wouldn't be enough for a position, but it would certainly sort of cement not starting on that final row. Up to the line he goes. Last lap was on mediums, now it's on softs. 1:31.976, so not a bad lap from Mute Mirror as he goes into and cements 12th place. Danny Boy's invalidated his lap. We've got a lot of cars in the pits, but that's because we're waiting for these guys just to come out for their final runs. James Petty up after the first sector, just over 1/10. He negotiates through these kinks into the right left chicane, bashes the wall on entry. Going to lose quite a lot of time, especially because there's this massive full throttle section, possibly I'd say longer than what's it called, the front stretch at Monza. Fast in the middle sector as well apparently, so there's a lot of pace in that apex, but can he make it all stick round this section here? He's coming around the left-handers into the final left-hander, final corner on this circuit. Nicely done on both sides of the wall, on entry and on exit. To see where he comes out. He's not going to be in pole position for the time being, but it goes from 8th to 6th, so pushes himself up a row ahead of both of the Garuda guys. 29.054, good improvement there for James Petty, the newcomer in the Apex squad. Was of course in the Porsches this time last season. Georgiakis for the Athletics is out on track. We've got a couple on outlaps, namely Matt Coper and HBE. We've got 2 minutes and 40 seconds left of qualifying. Who else has come out? St. Place has come out. Sam has come out for his second lap in quali. Let's go on board with HBE. Currently sitting in pole position. Is he going to want to cement that ahead of the Lotuses? Or are they going to be able to catch up and get past this man? He's not pushing. He's known to go for a second lap in terms of warming tyres. But again, you've got to be careful. There's 2 minutes left on a 1.5-minute lap. You can't dilly-dally too much. Matt Coper, is he on the push as well? No, he's not. So again, he's taking a second lap just to warm the tyres up a little bit. James Petting validating his lap. Is he going to go again now? I wonder. He's got the battery theoretically to do so, but I think he's just angling himself into the pit lane. Yes, he is. No better start position than 6th place for the Apex. The other Apex is on pole position, so there's a lot to live up to there. Numero down through the first sector. Georgiakis, well, his lap wasn't an improvement, so he's got one more opportunity should he want to take it, of course. But not everybody necessarily wants to. Sometimes they just think, that position will do. That's all right for me. He's coming in to the S's here. Nicely done, taking the curbs very violently. Then through this first sector ticks just before this hairpin here. 4/10 up on his personal best. Could, if he can keep that rate of improvement up, could possibly get himself sort of top 8. I reckon, but there's still 2/3 of a lap yet to go. Right, left chicane here. That's, I think, 16 and 17, but there's so many corner numbers, I honestly haven't a bloody clue. Through this slalom section, bobsled run, toboggan run, plenty of names for it. Basically don't hit the wall, thread the needle. Also 4/10 of a second, so again he's not improving as much as I'm sure he would have hoped. Could possibly get himself ahead of the 5th row, maybe displacing Red Panda. We've still got a little bit of time, 15 seconds left for Milan to start, and I think he's just about done that now. And here he comes, Georgiakis for the Athletic. I think he's going to get another lap should he want to, but I don't think he will. Goes 10th, 30.2. Checkered flag is now out. So let's go up to HBE, because he's going to be the first man to set a lap, well, to possibly improve his lap. And with the fastest middle sector, he certainly will want to improve. Sam has retired from the session. Not fully sure what happened there. I think he's retired in the pit lane there. Must not have been an improvement on his time. Up the line goes HBE, 27.474 to beat, and he's done it by half a second. 26.917. Now it's your move, Curtis. Not improving and slowing down. Cars going past. Matt Coper could be improving as well, but is it going to be enough for pole position now? I wonder. Not quite. 27.154, so puts his Beamer on the front row. Millen is also now coming through this final sector. Danny Boy's finished his lap as well. Luigi's Fen, James Petty, Korku Malakis 6th, 7th, 8th. St. Plays retires in 5th place. And let's go into this final corner with Millen, the only real person that we think could displace HB. I don't think he's quite got the pace. I thought he was going in the pit lane for a second there. Here comes Millen, goes 4th, stays 4th. 27.811, improves his time, but not by enough for a position. So HBE, 3rd week in a row, puts himself on pole position. Now, you really do think, is there anything other than a new game that could stop the man who is, well, dominating this season, dominated last season? Makes you wonder, is there anything that this man can't do? Well, we'll see in about 25 laps time. This circuit is notorious for being difficult. It's high speed, it's risky, it's all sorts of stuff. And you know, it can catch even the best people out sometimes. So, you know, it's going to be difficult. 25 laps around here is never an easy task. Believe me, from other leagues that we do on International Paddock, it's never easy around Jeddah because of the proximity of where the walls are. Luigi's Fenn for the Garudas starts in 6th place. I'm sure he's pretty happy with that one, but your quality results are coming on screen now. HBE, Matt Copa, Curtis, Milan, and St. Plays, your top 5. And there's only 14 drivers, so you can just about see them all on your screen now. Let's see what's happening with tech levels as well, because tech levels are crucial here at FSC. Luigi Sven and Korkin Malakis doing pretty well, given their tech level is pretty low. Same with Danny Boy and Plumby, they're quite far down. Mute Mirror, Sandbox as well, their tech levels are sort of up the upper end, and yet they're still 5 and 7 seconds off the pace respectively. So it makes you wonder sort of what those teams are really investing in. But that's qualifying done. Racing possibly in around about 5 minutes time. Be sure to not go anywhere. I'm going to use this lull in the racing. Well, we've got a little bit of break. Just had a reminder also, there's no formation lap. So we're going to be seeing cars going straight away once we see the lights in a couple of minutes' time. Worth also mentioning, I'm about to say SRC, ERC, have their end of season podcast on Sunday. So they're going to be going over sort of all the changes that are going into next season, and sort of going over all the stuff that happened in the previous season. And believe me, there's a lot that happened, a lot to go over. And then we resume, as far as I'm aware, because anything could happen in that podcast. This time last season, we did see the change from the Sunday to the Masters. So it could be completely a new format for one or two of the leagues. Who really knows? But that's Sunday night, 8 o'clock, on this very channel. So be sure not to miss it. You do not want to miss to see what these guys have got up their sleeves. From what I've heard, little odd rumours here and there, it's going to be a very, very good event. Also, if you want to follow our socials, at international_paddock on Instagram, at internationalpad, P-A-D-D, on TikTok. That's where you'll find us all. And be sure also to join our Discord, if you've got a Discord account. I'm sure Mike or Sam, one of the two, is going to be able to pop the link, if they've got it, into the chat for you. But of course, we're going to be announcing any like major changes or any major stuff that we do. We're just waiting for the lights to come on. There we go. Thank you, Sam. Let's see what's cracking in the Discord. Ooh, from what I'm reading, it's going to be a day to night race. Do love that. Millen's struggling with front tyre grip. He has less grip now than he had at Imola, and Imola's obviously pretty difficult in terms of tyres. Anything else that's cracking on? I thought the lights showed up for a brief moment there. Again, no formation lap. So we're going to get going straight away into the racing once the lights come on. So I'm not going to have time to go through tyres, but I can give you sort of a little bit of an inkling. That's sort of what we're looking at. Quite a lot of mediums, a couple of hards and a couple of softs. But here we go. 5 lights on, 14 drivers, 14,000 horsepower on the grid, and we're going away. Drive-through penalty for 3 drivers for a jump start. We're on board with Millen, who's made it past Curtis as well. They're going side by side for the back. That's a battle for 4th and 5th. Curtis defending down the inside of turn 2, forcing some players out to dry. And now he's got to be careful for James Petty in the background, but I think he's just gone behind. So he's going to stay in 6th place, but it is HB, Matt Cope, Mill and Curtis. Your 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 drive-through penalties. 4 jump starts from Luigi, Sven, Kokomilakis and Mute Mirror. So they've all got served those within the next, I believe, 3 laps. As they head into the hairpin for the first time in this race. Not a very good start just in general. 3 jump starts out of 14 is pretty concerning just in general. We're going to look for this battle for the lead. HBE being challenged this time by a BMW. Now, that last week this probably wouldn't have happened. The BMWs did seem to struggle at Imola, especially towards the back end of the race. But here comes Millen. Can he make a move? Not quite. It's difficult to make a move into there without DRS. He's right on the tail of the BMW, though. And I think he's got a lot of pace to be able to use. Matt Coper trying to go down around the outside. He's going to go 3 wide with Millen. This is going to be interesting down into turn 1. HB into 3rd, Millen in 1st. Matt Coper stays in 2nd. As a virtue of all of the stuff that's happening, Curtis has managed to get himself involved in this and Plays isn't very far behind. Danny Boy's dropping like a stone. I think he's gone deep into the final corner. Side by side, Curtis is going to go down the inside of HBE. So HBE almost, I say almost, there's contact there, but he was almost off the podium there. That's probably one of very few times where we would have seen that, just in general. As they head through turn 4, 5, and then into 6 and 7, 8. There, ooh, right at the curbs there. That's not going to do you any good. Careful, some plays. Don't crash into the back. That's one of quite a few curves around the circuit you want to avoid, because not only is it going to damage your car, but it's also going to damage, you know, just yourself, really, because if you're not feeling confident to go into there, that's very much a problem. Let's officially have a look at tyres, mostly hards and mediums. More hards than mediums, though. Highest hard runner is HBE, so he's dropped down by virtue of that to 3rd place. It's Milan, Matt Kopus as Lotus, BMW, Apex, 1, 2, 3. 3 different teams in that top 3, 4 in the top 5. With Curtis in the Lotus and St. Plays in the Pagani. Mute Mirror and Sandbox having a good old crack into this final section here. The sounds controller not giving out, I can tell. As the gap between 1st and 2nd is now 1.5 seconds. That's a pretty decent margin. Let's look at just general big movers, big losers. Big mover, Millen up 3, Sam up 3, but he's probably going to be up 4 when the drive-throughs are done through. In fact, I think he's going to be up 4, up 5 even. Yes, a great start for Sam. Yes, partly helped by penalties, but in order to finish first you have to finish. Plumby blatantly cutting corner 2, so he gets a 3-second penalty for that one. We just managed to catch that on the stream. But let's jump back to the lead. 2nd and 3rd place even. This is Matt Cooper against HBE. Millen has already cleared off, but they're sort of closing right back in on the Lotus. As they're going through this slalom section, 3rd time in this race so far. We're on board with the Apex. He's closing, but not closing by enough. HBE's not quite got the advantage that he had last season. There was a lot of races where he could just boom, pull away, partly because of all the stuff that happened with tech levels. But here goes HBE down the inside of the final corner. Doesn't even really need the braking or the DRS, but it certainly did help. Now Matt Coper, he's going to have the DRS. Koka Malakas has got a 3-second time penalty for track limits. I think that's the first one of the race so far. Round the outside goes Matt Coper again. DRS working a treat. Doesn't even need the braking zone, and that is a game of DRS chicken. Do you wait to make? Do you hold back before the final corner to make a move down into turn 1, or do you make the move down into turn 1 and hope to God that your opponent doesn't? It's always an interesting prospect, especially with a game like that. I was about to say DRS link. Discord link, as I mentioned before, is now in the chat. Helpfully provided by Sam, who's currently in 9th place. Danny Boy's retired in the pit lane. Unfortunate start for Danny, picked up an early penalty. Korku Malakis in last place at the moment in 14th, but that's going to pick up a position when he picks Danny Boy off because he's retired again in the pit lane. But I think, is he coming out of the pit lane? That's not very good. These guys going side by side. Hello, HB's got a load of pace down this back straight with the DRS as well, working a treat. It's not often that you see a move made into, I think it's 23. Again, there's a lot of corners that don't really have a name. Matt Coper trying to go around the outside, but again, HB is going to have the advantage down into turn 1, so let's not count your chickens until they hatch. As right at the final corner they go. Yellow's in the second sector. That looks to be, I think, Mute Mirror. He's dropped back a little bit as there goes HB right back ahead of Matt Coper down into turn 1, and that is move done. Back end sliding there for the BMW. That's one way to do it, but I don't think this BMW is meant to be drifted. I'm sure if you ask BMW, they'd probably make you a drift car, but this is not one of those. Battle for 4th. Curtis Anson plays 16:32, so it is Lotus Pagani in terms of that battle. Plumby ahead of Sandbox, so he's probably made that move down into turn 1. Let's just take a look at also some of the other team standings. Apex and Garuda, actually, they're drawn. Both on 65 points, and it's 2-on-2 tonight. But the other two are mired at the back. Luigi's Fen probably picked up, I think, no, he had the drive-through. That's what he had, yes. I was wondering why he was at the back. I thought he picked up some damage, but that is not the case. Sandbox overtaken, back end sliding there on the exit of the hairpin. Again, International Paddock, that's unfortunately not one of the services that we provide Formula Drift cars. But good to know that if Sam wants some, he can go find some for himself. Luigi's Fen is actually closing up to Plumby, who still has that 3-second penalty for cutting the corner, and he's done sort of exactly the same thing. And so that's going to leave him open for Luigi's Fen to go around the outside and make the move down into the final corner, and that's exactly what's happened. Doesn't even need the braking zone. He's going to pull away by some margin. What's the gap going into here? It's 2/3 of a second even. So I don't think Plumby can retaliate into first corner. He's closing, but there's no move there, not from that far back. And into turn 1, he closed up to about half a second, but I think Luigi's just going to pull away now a little bit. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. Korki Malakis in 12th place. I'm not fully sure what happened. I think there must have been some sort of damage. As he negotiates the final corner, 40 seconds off of 11th place. Mute Mirror having a bit of a problem at the exit of the final corner as well. He's ghosted, but he's coming into the pit lane already again. I'm not sure if this is intentional, but we'll stay on board with the Porsche. 19 to go, just because Milan's just crossed the start line down into turn 1. He goes 1.2 seconds ahead of HBE. Mediums for the Porsche and a new front wing as well. So there was definitely some form of damage for Mute Mirror going into that final corner. Of course, if anybody was watching the real life F1 at a circuit not actually very far from Saudi Arabia, circuit at Bahrain hosted the first qualifying session, as it has done for the past few years, of the season, and it was a very, very thrilling qualifying session. The top 9 in Q3, because we're ignoring Nico Hulkenberg here because he was quite off the pace in comparison. Top 9 split by half a second. Yellow's in the second sector, but they've just disappeared. I'd imagine that's possibly for... is that for St. Blaise? I don't think it is. It'll probably be for Red Panda, I'd imagine. Problem at the final hep at the hairpin at the opposite end of the circuit. Plumby 3-second time penalty, so he's gone up to 6 seconds in terms of a penalty. And that's already quite early, so I could very much see him run that to double digits. Let's also give a credit to a few other teams just in general. Mercedes sitting on 10 points, along with Pagani and Audi. They're 6th, 7th and 8th. The international paddock team in 9th place on 7 points, not very far behind. BMW sort of making a name for themselves, but if they can really close up that 3rd place tonight, they certainly will be sort of, I don't want to say in a league of their own, but they'll be far enough away from the field in the back, but they'll still be quite close to the pack in the front. Very much the best performing newcomer at the moment, as it were. Mute Mirror, 3-second time penalty for track limits. So he's gone up from 0 to 3 seconds. Let's turn the tyre menu off. Change for the lead. HB's got right back past Millen down into turn 22, 3, 4, and then his left hand is 5. Okay, cool. So great move there by HB, but then Millen down into turn 27, final corner. Can he make the move? He thinks better of it. Again, playing a little bit of DRS chicken, lifts off the throttle and lets him keep the position, but then it's a brilliant opportunity down into turn 1. Does he make the move now? I wonder. He's getting closer. He's not closing up by enough though, so he's given up the position by doing that. Lifted off the throttle a little bit, tried to hold on to DRS, but that didn't quite work for Millen, so he's going to stay in 2nd in the Lotus. But again, a 2nd, 4th points pickup for the Lotuses isn't a bad pickup at all. Let's see what's cracking a little bit further down, not much further down, but a little bit further down. Matt Coper and Curtis. Curtis is closing up the field, sort of 3rd and 4th place. They're on the taking for these guys as they head through these S's and then down this slalom section. A brilliant helicopter shot. Couldn't be much more perfectly timed. This is one of not very many things that I find especially good about this game. I love these helicopter shots. They just look awesome. Especially at circuits like this where it's nighttime. It just looks awesome. And obviously Jeddah does have, you know, the high sort of, I don't know what you'd call it specifically, like it's got that kind of atmosphere that makes it look good. But we'll see what happens in about 16 laps time. Millen can't make the move back on HBE. He's been trying that for a couple, for best part of 2 laps now. Can't get close to the apex. That's something we heard quite a lot back end of the season 6. Apexes were near dominant there. How many races did HBE win in the end? He won 6 of the 9 of the races that were held. So there's a lot of dominance inherent in that Apex car. Could we see even better? Because there's 12 races that are meant to happen. So we could see even better stuff happening. Through the right-left chicane, sort of in the middle of the circuit, middle of the 2nd sector, and then it's again through these kinks. Navigating them is extremely important. Here comes Curtis. Curtis, no move there for Curtis. Curtis, there's a mistake there for Matt Coper, and it's an opportunity for this Lotus to make a move. There's probably a change for the lead as well as they head into the final corner, but we're going to go on board with Curtis. Is he going to make the move? Yes, he does. Into the final corner, but Matt Coper's taking a wider line, hoping for a better exit. Millen moves to the side, and that is the move retaken there by Matt Cooper. So a brilliant run for the BMW so far. Beamer's currently, I think it's just the one Beamer of Matt Coper. Let me just check. Looks to be. So for team allocations, actually, I'll just quickly run you through them. Apex is HB and James Petty. Porsche is just the mute mirror for tonight. The Garuda is Luigi and Corkum Lacus as always. Lotus is Millen and Curtis. We've already looked at that. Pagani Zondas plays, and again, returning driver Red Panda Athletic. Georgiakis also races in the HSRT Wednesday League, as Matt Coper is being closed on by Curtis. This is DRS section through here. We've seen a couple of moves made through this section, but it's not quite as easy as some people make it out to be, because this corner is really fast. Not much of a braking zone, so you've got to time that right. Millen also desperately close on the back of HB. He's going to try and make a move into turn one. He's been looking at this man for a couple laps. Curtis back ahead of Matt Coper. Yells in the second sector. As Matt Coper comes into the pit lane, we're on board with the BMW. I would imagine a set of hard tyres. I think I'm correct in saying that. So he's going to come out on hards. Now, obviously, the question is, what do the others do? Now, I wonder. Let me just quickly run through this. BMW is meant to be Steve and Matt Coper, but I don't think Steve is here tonight. Matt Coper, I think, also races in the HSRT Wednesday League. International paddock is Sambo. Unfortunately, Mike isn't available because he's gone on holiday for a weekend away. And then Mercedes is Danny Boy and Plumby. Danny Boy already retired, but Plumby in 10th place. Battle for 8th, Georgiakis and James Petty. Is James Petty... Has Petty pitted? Petty has pitted just now, so he's come out in 9th place. Georgiakis gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits, which, considering how much he was taking those curbs, is not particularly a surprise. But we'll see what happens. Round that hairpin on the far end of the circuit, there's a little bit of banking there as well, making it even faster. Corkum Lacus ahead of Plumby, because Plumby's come into the pit lane. Opportunity, ooh, careful there. Contact Georgiakis and James Petty as they're going to go side by side on exit of this chicane, but James Petty does have the pace and he does have the place. So that is 9th place given up to Georgiakis as James Petty takes the 8th position. Now 10 seconds, no, 1.6 seconds ahead of him is the Garuda of Luigi Sven, and again James Petty is going to want to try and bring home as many constructors points as he can, because this is sort of one of their indirect rivals, as Red Panda gets a 5-second penalty for speeding Alf Das pit lane. Comes out of the pit lane on set medium tyres. Medium, hard, hard, medium is sort of an interchangeable strategy which is often played around this circuit. Plumby currently 57 seconds apparently off of Red Panda. I imagine that's going to probably drop down to about 40 once the race does come to a close. Let's jump up to the top. Could we be seeing a change here for the lead once again? HB against Millen. They're both on near identical. I think Millen just has a little bit more there. in terms of the energy. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have a look and see, has anybody underfueled? Now I wonder. Red Panda is looking a little bit cautious as Jim Petty does get past Luigi's Fen. I think that's it. I think it is just Red Panda, so we'll try and keep an eye on it if we can. But we're looking at this sort of battle for the lead. Heading into the hairpin, out of the hairpin, and then down towards the right-left quick chicane. Again, I said before, there is a lot of one-line grooves around this circuit. That is very much one of them. Another would be the S's because they are really tight, really twisty, they're high risk. Why would you bother going side by side considering also how close the blooming walls are? You're more likely to crash your car into a wall than go side by side through there. If I'm perfectly honest, but again, not that I've ever done that at Jeddah. No, not at all. What are you on? I thought Miller was going to try and go into the pit lane. Is he going to try for a medium soft now? I wonder. 14 laps on mediums isn't quite the fun I would suggest. Yellow's in the first sector, but they've gone now. No safety cars as yet with 11 to go. It's a good start for these guys so far. Don't forget that if you want more racing action, these guys are racing every Friday night, 8 PM, and next week is a sprint. I believe it is Austria. This is going to be a very, very good race in general. Let me just check that because I don't want to obviously be lying to you guys. Yeah, it is Austria round 4, a sprint. I will unfortunately not be here. We'll make sure that somebody else is. Because what? Because we wouldn't leave you on it at all. But let's jump back to this battle for the lead. Corky Malakis trying 11 laps on a set of softs. That is going to be difficult, but if he could pull it off, that would be a very good play for Garuda. As into the final corner goes Miller, 4/10 away from HBE, starting 10 to go. Which around here is a pretty long time. I thought, again, HBE was going to go into the pit lane. Here comes Millen, going to try around the outside. I think this is his first real opportunity at a move, but he lifts off. I think this is intentional so he can try and keep his tyres nice and not very worn at all. As Curtis does come into the pit lane now. Goes from mediums to a set of softs now. Again, I'm not the racer, and if anybody else watched last night or the week before, they would know that that Mike Wallace is usually the racer and not me. So I'd usually say, yeah, I'd say 11 laps is a little bit of a stretch for a set of softs. But again, if you know, you know. But I'm not that great of a racer. So we'll see what's been cracking once all the pit stops come through. Millen again, he's right on the back of HBE. As they're going to come through these left-hand kinks, sweepers, whatever you want to call them, up to the final corner. Braking here is crucial. Because not only is it quite a wide corner, you've also got the start-finish straight looming right ahead of you. And he's coming closer. Is he going to try down the inside? I think, again, he's just lifted off there. So no move to be made by HBE, well, not Millard, on HBE. These guys have got 9 to go now. St. Plays defending third place very nicely. Corky Malaka's ahead of Sandbox. Whereas that down into the final corner. Mute Mirror's got another 3-second time penalty. James Petty gets his first time penalty of this race. And Plays is in the pit lane. (17 of 25). Again, this sort of quasi-battle for the lead. They're not really making moves on each other, but it is theoretically a fight for the lead. These guys have been close as ever for quite an extensive period in this race. So we'll see if these guys can stay close for the entirety. These guys are actually quite nicely matched. Back end of last season, start of this season, we've seen some cracking battles between these pair, and long may it continue. I'm thinking back to Bahrain. Bahrain was an absolute cracker. If you didn't get to watch it, it will be uploaded to YouTube soon. Yells in the final sector. I do think that might be for Georgiakis. I think it is coming through the final corner. Cars are generally quite spaced out. The only ones that aren't, again, is this pack for the lead, which ordinarily you wouldn't expect because it's a pack for the lead. There's normally not very many cars that are close to each other at this point in the race, but these pair are. 17 lap old tyres, one medium, one hard. Curtis fastest, sub 30. 129.911. This is a good run there for, I believe that was Curtis. Was it Curtis? Yes, it was Curtis. Okay, Plumby, 3-second time penalty for the track limits. Of course, again, track limits are pretty notorious around here. You don't want to be messing with them. It can very easily get very bad if you choose to disobey them. These guys do have to make a stop at some point. I do imagine they're going to try and delay it as much as they can, but you've got to be careful for people like Matt Coper in the background who are going to make use of every single opportunity like that. And Millen's in. Millen has come into the pit lane and nicely slows down as well. I thought a smidge too fast, but seemingly not. In he goes. Soft tyres going on. Good stuff from the Lotus as he's coming through the pit lane now. Where is Matt Cope? He's coming out of the final corner now. Has that hard tyre gamble paid off now, I wonder? He's just come out now. I think not for Matt Coper. HBE is still going to have the advantage coming out of turn 2. Not as much of one as he had before, but crucially he's on those fresh, soft tyres. He's going to have the pace advantage over the next few laps as the gap between Millen and Matt Coper is now at 3 seconds just under. It's gone down, so if the gap could constantly be going down, it's down to 2 seconds. Millen goes deep into that left hand, that right hand kink even. Ooh, how close do you like? Matt Coper's making a move. Or is he? Is he? It's a safety car. Okay, sorry, I got a little bit confused there. Is that Millen who isn't in the game, I wonder? Plumby, 5-second penalty, collision with another car. Let me check who that other car was. Curtis, okay. I'm going to say, because that didn't look right. HBE is now going to use this absolute monster opportunity to pit for fresh tyres. He's absolutely timed it to perfection. Good stuff there from HBE. Now, can he pull away once the safety car comes in? Probably about lap 22-23, if anybody is wondering. Safety cars don't usually stay out for too long. Safety car being picked up by the leader there, as Millen has come back. Ah, unfortunate there for him. I reckon he probably could have very easily tried to catch up if he would have wanted, but not to be. Mute Mirror's left the session. He's the one that caused this incident. This safety car that has now come out. 6 to go. Or 5.5, really. Well, ladies and gents, what are we thinking about this race? Please let us know in chat. I do have the chat open. W's in the chat. If anybody is interested. Well, yes, we are. Round 3 in Jeddah. There's 9 more to go after this. Next one being in Austria. So it's going to be a very good race. Of course, we know Spielberg is going to be pretty chaotic. And let's not forget, there's a sprint happening as well. So there's double dose in terms of racing action. I can't wait. I'm going to be a spectator for this one. There'll be another person on the mic for next week. So it's going to be an absolute cracker of a race. Coming around the final couple of corners, safety car's going to start lap 21 of 25, so we're going to be about 5 to go. So let's go on board with Millen. Oh, it's a sense of what could have been, really, because that's whatever happened to Milan there is very, very unfortunate. Must have possibly some network problem mean he was kicked out. Quite possibly. I couldn't tell you. I'm not fully sure on what's happened to him. I'll try to bring you the results when and if possible. Now, in terms of unlapping, of course, because again, these guys are going to be allowed to unlap drivers because the safety car doesn't like to let people that are lapped through for whatever reason. There is going to be an opportunity for people to unlap themselves while we're under safety car. See what happens here. Georgiakis has been released. He's going to be able to make moves there. St. Plays. Oof. Not sure what's happening there in the middle there. We'll jump back to whatever's happened here. Was there possibly a mistake? Ooh, I think there was possibly a mistake. And because now Matt Coper is back in third. So good stuff from there in terms of the sportsmanship. There is still quite a few cars that need letting through. I do imagine if they can, they will try to let them through. And that is what's going to be happening here. They're just waiting for the cars that are being unlapped to come through. I'm not fully sure what's happening here. They really should be trying to, you know, unlap themselves. It's a big old mess that's happened. Yeah, that's a confusing one, I'll be honest. But there's been a couple of positions that have been given up. I think the only person that just needs letting through is Korkumalakis, who is between... There we go. Curtis has dropped back another position. I imagine, again, some places are going to let him through. So, again, a lot of good sportsmanship there, but Jeddah is really, really difficult for this sort of stuff. It's actually really awkward. It would be better, EA, if you're listening, to have... What's happened there? I'm not fully sure what has happened there. The only thing that I do know is Korkumalakis has been bashed into the wall. I don't know who by. But but that's his race done and dusted. He's crashed himself out, so the safety car is going to stay out a little bit longer than we would like. What? I'm not fully sure what happened there. Bit of confusion there. I think just a little bit of confusion setting in there. I'm still just sort of trying to figure out what exactly has happened. As he has left the session, so no double points there for the Garuda guys. Unfortunate situation there for him. I'm not fully sure like why that's happened. It would have been blatantly obvious that he was a lap down. So like, but I'm not gonna. Ooh, right as we're on board with Matt, he almost crashes into the back of Milan. That's pretty. That could have been pretty spicy if that continued. Safety cars in this lap. I thought he would stay out for maybe another lap, given what happened. But they are now going to bunch up a little bit. They are going sort of almost, again, like almost IndyCar levels of restart. Go on board with some plays. When are the people ahead of him going to go? Coming through the final corner. And there they go. So it is HBE, Milan, Matt Coper, 1, 2, and 3. But Matt Coper's closing in on the back of Milan. Can he make a move down into turn 1? HBE's pulled off a blinder of a start, but can Matt Coper go around the outside to make the move? No, he can't. Miller defends very, very well with ever so slightly more worn soft tyres than the man ahead and behind him. As Curtis is in 5th place. I think he was meant to be a little bit higher, possibly. Not sure on that one. Through the S's, 3 to go. So only 2 more times through that section of track. As down to the far hairpin, they go for the 23rd time in this race. And track limits penalties are creeping back in like... well, they're creeping back in like an absolute creeper. If anybody likes a bit of Minecraft. Couldn't think of anything else to go with. Good grief. What a comparison. On board with Curtis, battle for 4th place, just off the podium. Curtis does seem to have the pace advantage, but the Pagani isn't giving up just yet. Forced a little bit deep into there, not going to have an optimal exit. So this is an opportunity for Curtis to make the move down into the final corner. He's going to go side by side through these left-handers, and I think that's going to be move made. Move done. Or is it side by side, outside line becomes the inside line, because I think some players have given that up. Now what is the Pagani going to do? Now I wonder, he's going to come out to make the move. Let's drop this down in. There we go. And then down into turn 1, Curtis keeps 4th place, so it's a good score there for the Lotuses so far. 2nd and 4th and 1st and 6th there for the Apexes. I think that's going to be a season-long battle. Can't wait to see it. Milan and HBE is probably also going to be a season-long battle. So far it's 2-0 to HBE just in general, but I think in a couple of races a little further down the line it's going to be a very different situation. Who knows? Remember, the tech level is capped at 475, so the cars for these top guys aren't necessarily going to get much better. And then after halfway, round 6, we're going to be in the realm of the 500s in terms of a tech level. I wonder if they're going to keep the F1 World function for 24. Of course, the new game was recently announced to come out on May 31st, May 28th for anybody who gets the Champions Edition, gets a couple of days early pre-order. As now we're coming up to the final lap of this massive 5 kilometer? Or is it, I think it's 5 kilometer juggernaut. That is the Jeddah circuit. 5 or 6 kilometer, one of the two. It's a very long circuit is what I'm trying to say. It's HBE 1, Millen 2, Matt Coper 3. Let's have a look further down the field. Battle for 7th and 8th. Luigi Sven, the only remaining Garuda. Behind Red Panda Pigeon Slayer, of course. Now that is big old news. Millen 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, so he's not going to be finishing at the top of the field, but he could still retain that second place. Needs a little bit more of a gap. Will go on board with the Lotus. That's actually pretty big news because there's a 7/10 gap, so it could be, I think, BMW's first podium this season. I'd go as far as saying ever, because I'm not sure if we ever had a BMW race here. Their best result is a 6th place, so this is going to be a hell of a result to go into second place. Millen right on the back of HBE, but I think HBE is still going to be able to take the win regardless, and Millen is probably going to keep second place, but here we go. HBE wins. Can Matt Coper get second? Yes, he can. Wow. Good stuff there from Matt. He takes Beamer's first podium in second place. Millen third, Curtis fourth, St. plays in fifth as well. Red Panda finishes in 7th ahead of Luigi Sven in 6th. And then it's James Petty, Georgiakis, Plumby, and then Sandbox to finish the lot. We'll go on board with the man who's in last place at the moment as well. Up to the final corner. A bright white livery. I wonder who painted it. Definitely not me. No, what do you mean? As he comes up to the line now. Takes the wide line, and that is 11th and last place for Sambo. Driver of the day. Let's see what the game says. HBE. Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree. I was going to go for Milan, but I think that penalty at the end is just sort of pushing me away from that. Either HBE or Curtis, I'd have to say, sort of driver of that race. There was a lot of good stuff presented by both of those drivers. However, results are on your screen as we speak, and it is HBE Matt Coper with BMW's first podium, so they're going to shoot up the rankings there, and then Millen in third, Curtis just off the podium as well in fourth place, and that is it for us for tonight. Be sure to tune in again Sunday night 8 p.m. for the ERC end of season podcast. We've also got the supercharged race. I think it's round 9. They're going to be going, so this closing up that season, and as far as I'm aware, that race is pretty tight. Simtech finale on Thursday is between 3 drivers who could mathematically win it, and they'll be back here in Austria for a sprint weekend. However, that's it from me, and we'll see you all very soon. Stay safe. Bye bye.